Welcome back, everyone. It is now time for our 3-inch cordless random orbital polishers test. We have 4 different cordless polishers ranging from $40 all the way up to $760. We're going to put those to the test, then we're going to give it to 6 different professional detailers and see how they hold up, how they like things, and so on. Buckle up, this is going to be kind of a long video. Even though there's only 4, I'm going to try to keep it a lot shorter than the previous 5 and 6-inch polishers video. You're seeing some of those on your screen right now. I do have a spreadsheet in the video description if you want to follow along with me. First up, we have the unboxing and the information of each of the polishers. First off is the Flex PXE 80. That is $419.99, made in China, 3-year warranty, has a top variable speed trigger, 4 speeds, 2,000 to 5,800 RPM, has a brushless motor, weighs 2 pounds, 5.1 ounces, or 1,051 grams, has a 2.5 amp hour battery. Larger ones are available. Replacement batteries are $49.99 each. And like its bigger brother, it uses the same 12 and 18 volt quick charger provided by Flex, also made in China. Pretty versatile tool, has a rotary attachment, 3mm and 12mm orbit quick change head, and you have a small pad and a large pad. It appears that it has a proprietary backing plate, but it looks like a standard thread. I didn't measure it. It's probably a metric thread, something like M8 or M6. Intakes and exhaust. Intake is at the bottom of the tool, and the exhaust is right underneath the backing plate at the bottom of the tool. Next up is the Mirka 312 NV Bluetooth, $760, designed in Finland, made in China. 1-year warranty, has a bottom trigger, no trigger lock with a variable speed trigger, 7 speeds, brushless, sealed motor, 12mm orbit, 2 pounds, 9.7 ounces, or 1,183 grams, 10.8 volt, 5 amp hour battery, and a replacement battery is $100. You can see it's a very high quality piece, highly machined, has their own backing plate, but it does look like a standard thread. It does have Bluetooth, as I said, so it has an app where it actually tracks the vibration in meters per second and the actual speed that the tool is producing. Don't know why you'd need that, but there it is. And next up is the Shinemate EB315 3-inch 12mm. I bought this from Carzilla, not available in the US, so I paid 465 Canadian dollars, which is about 379 US dollars. It's made in China, only has a 6-month warranty. It's a bottom trigger, it is variable speeds, and it also has 6 speeds available on the polisher, 2,000 to 5,000 RPM, has a brushless motor, 12mm orbit. It's extremely heavy compared to the others in this test at 5 pounds, 9.5 ounces, or 37 grams, 18 volt, 5 amp hour battery. Replacement battery is $78.88 USD. The intake is on the bottom of the tool, and the exhaust is on the bottom right underneath the tool. Has a vented backing plate, uses an M8 bolt style backing plate, and it is a little bit different than the 5 and 6-inch polishers that they do sell. Next up is the SPTA 3 and 4-inch cordless. I paid $40 for this. Now it's showing as $59.99. It's made in China with a 1-year warranty, top trigger, non-variable speed, has 6 speeds available, doesn't state the RPM. It's a brushed motor, 9mm orbit, 2 pounds, 6.7 ounces, 1,096 grams, 12 volt, 2.5 amp hour battery, and I could not find a replacement battery anywhere. I looked on Amazon, AliExpress, Alibaba, couldn't find a replacement battery. So at that price, you'd probably have to buy the tool again if you needed another battery. It does have what appears to be a standard backing plate. It has a cast counterweight behind it. The intake appears to be towards the bottom of the tool, and the exhaust is up towards the top of the tool. And coming in at a surprise to absolutely no one is Mirka, $760, the most expensive, Flex and Shinemate in the middle, and SPTA the cheapest. As far as weight, tool and battery weight, Flex is the lightest, then SPTA, Mirka, and Shinemate is more than double of what the next lightest tool in the test is. Next we get into charge times, actual versus claimed. So first up we have the Flex, and actual charge time was 40 minutes and they claim 40 minutes, so it is spot on the money. Next up is the Mirka 312 NV. They claim a 90-minute charge time. We ended up getting 87 minutes, so it actually beat it by 3 minutes. That's the only one in the test that beat the claimed charge time. The Shinemate EB315 claimed 60-minute charge time, actually took 71 minutes, so 11 minutes longer than claimed. SPTA does not claim a charge time, but it did take 54 minutes to completely charge from flat. So summary of the charge times: Mirka being the longest, but it did beat the advertised time. Shinemate a little bit longer. SPTA, they don't advertise it, and Flex is spot on the money and also the quickest charging of this test. Next up are the no loaded run times. Let's see how everything holds up. Flex PXE 80, they claim a 20-minute runtime, and under no load, we got 78 minutes. So obviously their claim is with a loaded runtime, which is good, which is a good thing. So you can see the temperatures runs pretty cool as far as the head temperature, and the battery runs extremely cool. Mirka 312NV, they actually don't state a time. Unloaded, we got 170 minutes, which is nearly 3 hours of no load. That's pretty impressive. Being a sealed motor, there's no surprises here that it's going to run a little bit warmer than some of the others. The battery temperature does stay cool though. So the Shinemate EB315, they claim a 45-minute runtime. Unloaded, we had 81 minutes, so far exceeded. That's good to see. That tells you that they're going to claim it under load. And it does run relatively cool. You can see that the back of the head, 84 degrees, 29 degrees centigrade, and the battery is cool as well. On to the SPTA. So they claim a 30-minute runtime. We actually ended up getting 35 minutes. And my wife and I had to change back and forth because it would not stay put on my bench here that I was holding with clamps, so we just rotated back and forth. The vibration on this is really bad. It does run a little on the warmer side, but there's nothing to be concerned with at those temperatures. The battery doesn't get that warm, but right above it does. So the Mirka has the longest runtime, Shinemate and Flex right in the middle, with SPTA having the shortest runtime, all of them exceeding any claimed runtimes right now, which tells me that they obviously did it under load. And you can see the temperatures, the tool temperatures in red there. Mirka warmest, Flex second warmest, Shinemate, and then SPTA. On to the runtimes using a typical polishing load. First up is the Flex. They advertise a 20-minute runtime. We ended up getting 17 minutes, so fairly close. And it does run a little warm. You can see the backing plate heating up quite a bit as well. Battery, little elevated temperature, but nothing to be concerned with. On to the Mirka 312NV. Gonna show you a little more detail than I normally would for this part of the test. The Mirka, I almost think it has either too much RPM or too much power, if that's even possible. But the reason I say that is because it was just going through pads like crazy. You'll watch here, they'll fly off, or it just absolutely destroys the foam as I'm testing these, because as I test, these are all at max speed, and I'm using standard pressure. There's nothing out of the ordinary. I'm not pushing very hard, anything like that. And I am just going through pads left and right. So what I ended up having to do is I had to back the speed off. So it's a 7 speed. I backed it off to speed 5 in order to do the rest of this test, because I couldn't complete it without destroying pads every few minutes. Mirka doesn't claim an actual runtime. Unloaded, we had 170 minutes. Loaded, 33 minutes. So you can plus or minus a minute there for all of my mishaps. You can seriously just carry on a conversation while polishing. It's incredible how quiet this thing is. And as you saw with the unloaded test, because it's a sealed motor, it has no intake or exhaust, it does run very warm. You can see that's the back, and where you would hold it, that's where the battery is up inside that, 103 degrees. That's also where I was holding it, so that's probably a little warmer than it normally would be. And the battery, not extremely warm, but it is warm. And the Shinemate EB315, they advertise a 45-minute runtime. We ended up getting 37 minutes. So fairly close to the advertised runtime under load. I did have a 3-pound load, or just over a kilogram, attached to the top of that to represent that, so I wasn't adding any additional weight. You can see that as it blows the air over the backing plate, you can see it's heating up, and as a result, that makes the pad heat up as well. So the machine itself isn't that bad, it's just the fact that it's blowing the heat on top of it. The battery isn't overly hot or anything like that either. So on to the last SPTA. So this one advertises a 30-minute runtime. Unloaded, we had a 35-minute runtime. Loaded, we ended up with 25 minutes. And of note, the vibration is extremely strong on this. It very much starts hurting your hands after a while. And you can see that just above the battery, it got pretty warm. The battery itself wasn't warm, but the machine did get pretty warm as well. So there's the side of the machine, and there's the battery. Overall, expect to get around 30 minutes for most of these, and the Flex much shorter at 17 minutes. So the Flex was pretty close to the advertised runtime, as was the SPTA, and the Shinemate. Don't know what the Mirka is. So overall, most of these run for as advertised. In regards to temperatures, they're smaller units. They have less room for airflow, smaller motors, but you still put the same amount of work into them, they're going to run warm. And that's the case here. The Mirka is a sealed unit, so of course it runs even hotter. Batteries, nothing out of the ordinary there. On to noise and vibration. First up, vibration. There is a standard that the European Union has, and I will leave a copy of the spreadsheet in the video description. Basically, you can measure the meters per second squared from a specific meter, and it can tell you, by putting that information into this spreadsheet, how long you're able to use that tool in any given 8-hour period before exceeding the elevated limit and before exceeding the maximum limit of exposure. So the maximum limit of exposure would be where it starts to bother your hands. I don't know if you've used any other tools for extended periods of time, something like a chainsaw or anything that has a reciprocal or rotating assembly. Your fingers start to feel kind of tingly. Well, if you're a professional and you're using that all the time, you would amplify that even more because it's always in your hands. That's why it's important. I dug into this more into the 5 and 6 inch polisher video. I'm not going to get into as much detail here. Basically, we have 2 specialized meters that we put on to each of the tools, approximately where you would hold it. We measure it, and then we put it in this, and it will tell us how long we can use the tools for. So just showing you very quickly, this is using the meter. You can see 32.2 meters per second squared. That's a pretty high amount of vibration on the SPTA. You can see it's showing you real-time information, 3.5, and actually on the handle it only measured 1.5 on the Mirka. So on the Flex, somewhere between 6 and 7.9. So I think the average ended up being 7.9. SPTA far exceeds the vibration compared to the others, the Mirka, the Flex, and the Shinemate. Mirka being the least amount of vibration, Flex and Shinemate pretty similar. Now we put that in our spreadsheet, and this gives us the number of minutes you can use it before you exceed that limit. So the SPTA, you can use that for 12 minutes in any 8-hour period without it bothering your hands. That's pretty bad. The Shinemate, 188 minutes or just over 3 hours in any given 8-hour period. So that's not too bad if you consider you're not going to be using it all at once. The Flex 192 minutes, Mirka 980, and the Mirka where you hold it on the handle being 1440, which means in any 8-hour period, you can use it for 24 hours, which of course doesn't make sense, which tells you that you can pretty much use that an unlimited amount of time and it's not going to bother your hands. The noise frequency was something I tested in the other test too, because there were a couple polishers that had this really loud screaming noise. The SPTA is no exception here. Very high hertz. The Shinemate, the Flex in the middle, and then the Mirka it's not an offensive sound frequency whatsoever. As far as how loud they are, low and high speed, the SPTA is the loudest on the high speed, but the quietest on the low speed. Shinemate is up there, but none of them except for the SPTA would you have to wear hearing protection at 24 inches or 60 centimeters, which is about how far the tool would be if you're holding it in your hands polishing a car. So I have with me Dustin McGovney at McGovney Detailing Solutions. He's here and he's used all 4 of these products, and we're going to just see what was his favorite, why he liked them, and what he didn't like. So I know from watching you that your favorite was definitely the Flex.
Yeah.
And so you want to elaborate why? Was it the versatility, the weight, the smoothness? What did you like? What did you not like too?
Okay, so the biggest thing that stands out to me is coming like from a normal small 3-inch polisher that we use, which is a Rupes machine. It's not big, but it's a nice compact package and whatnot. And Flex has just taken that and just made something smaller, and it's got fantastic power. It's so smooth and it's really quiet for what it is.
And it has decent runtime. I mean, the smaller polishers are not like the big ones where you're not going to sit here and run it for 30 minutes at a time. But sure, it will run for about 20 minutes on max speed. But you're not always going to run that on maximum speed, as you learned. I mean, even when we didn't have a 3-inch pad at the shop there, we put a 5-inch pad on it, and it still you couldn't install it with a 5-inch pad. I mean, that's not what you're supposed to do, but it can still do it. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so what did you not like about the Flex? Was there? You could feel some vibration through the handle at max speed, or I mean, was there?
I mean, it had a little vibration at like the highest speed, but
it was pretty smooth.
It was pretty smooth. I mean, it's hard trying to find a flaw with it because it's really good.
And I mean, a bonus is you have the quick change head. So if you wanted a smaller rotation, if you wanted the 1 1/4 or 2-inch pad instead of a 3-inch, you can a rotary, and it takes literally 5 seconds to just click, and
I think that just the versatility of it just makes it even better.
And I guess one step further, it sounds like we're like trying to push Flex here, but I mean, it really is.
It's that good of a product.
It really is that good of a product, this little one. If you don't like the runtime, if you need longer runtime, they make bigger batteries. We tested with what it came with, which is a 2.5 amp hour battery, but I believe they make a 5 and a 6 amp hour in the 12 volt also.
Oh.
So you can just really get a long runtime if that's something that's really important. However, as you've seen and mentioned in the video prior here, that it has like a 40-minute runtime or a 40-minute charge time, 20-minute runtime. So if you were using it on max speed. So ideally, with a quick charge time, you could have that thing running almost all the time, and you wouldn't really have any downtime. But as we said earlier, it's not going to be running full blast all the time. So I think that they really did nail that product down, and it's outstanding. The price, it's a little on the higher side, but that brings us to your probably second place, which is the Mirka, right?
Yeah, the Mirka for sure.
So obviously the speed, it has plenty of speed, plenty of power, but it is quiet and it is smooth.
It's very quiet.
So let's get to the downsides.
Downside for me on the Mirka,
one-handed, or
it's really, I mean, you can put your other hand around the base, but it's such a short machine, and it's almost like just one hand based. And for me, I don't know, like you have a lot more stability if you're really holding something with two hands.
So for example, like if you were polishing up here on the pillars, it's kind of
I mean, if you're just trying to hold it up here like this, you're not going to have. It's like if I decided to hold that polisher, but you can't run it with because you have to hold the trigger. But if you could run it holding the head, you'd probably be a lot more stable versus holding the handle itself.
So whereas we'll go back to the Flex. The Flex you can still use two-handed, but you can use it one-handed too.
Yeah, it's just long enough to where you can hold it with two hands. You're not like this.
Okay.
Or it's not too long, which I'm sure we'll get to the.
Yes. So the trigger lock, the lack of a trigger lock, is that a deal breaker for you too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of it's just nice to have, especially if you're working in one area for a long time.
Your hand would kind of get
tired
holding it down.
Yeah, it might get fatigued. Yeah.
And it's not.
It's not a heavy trigger. But
yeah, I would say if memory recalls, it's not a super heavy trigger, but I mean, you would still have some fatigue if you're going to use it long term.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well that brings us to number 3, which is the Shinemate.
Yeah.
So pros and cons of that. It is a big machine.
It is a big machine. It's the same size as their 15 millimeter.
Yes.
And it's like.
Plenty of power.
It's got plenty of power, but I'd mentioned to Scott, it's so big. If you're having to reach out somewhere, it almost just doesn't make any sense to have. Rather, if you've got it close to you, you're not really fatigued or anything like that. But if you have it close to you, it's not bad to work with. But it's so big.
So the Flex and the Mirka, they're less than 2 pounds, where this is 5 or 6 pounds.
Yeah, the Shinemate's probably almost twice as long as the Flex.
Yes.
So
it definitely has ample power, but it's way too big.
Yeah.
If you want to get into tight spaces, like up underneath a mirror or something like that, that's going to be really tough because it's a tall tool, it's a long tool, and it's heavy. So
yeah, it's almost just like Flex is just that much more head.
Yeah.
Than what they come out with that.
Absolutely. So. All right. Well, so then that leaves 4th place, which you guys will find that, we did it because somebody had requested that we get it. This is the SPTA. It was $40 for the entire kit, and it is not even worth the $40. As Dustin will tell you, it is loud gear noise.
I mean, honestly, when you're holding it, you're just like
it's angry.
And it sounds like it is just coming apart. It is. Yeah. It's terrible.
So yeah, we're not even going to get into much more with that because it's just don't even buy that product. It's not even worth the $40. If you only had $40 to spend on a polisher, save your money until you have more money to buy.
Yeah.
Even a Shinemate or something else, but just not that. So, well, that kind of concludes my interview with Dustin for the smaller polishers. If you haven't checked it out already, I do already have the video for the 5 and 6 inch polishers up, and there's 6 of us that all of us tried these out, and we kind of did an exit interview after everybody had used them. So there you go. Well, so I really appreciate you coming by to try these out. And it's very helpful. Everybody at home, I'm sure, is very appreciative of hearing your opinions.
Yep.
So just wanted to thank you again, and I appreciate it.
Cool.
So,
appreciate you having me out.
Yeah, thanks. All right, guys, we have Timothy Mims here for Alpha Pressure Washing in Tyler, Texas. We're at his shop. He has spent the last week with these 4 small polishers, in addition to all of the other ones, if you've seen the video already. Basically, we're just going to go over and see what you thought about each of the 4 of these. So we'll start off in the beginning. So this is the Flex. That is your favorite. And what do you like about it? Why is it your favorite?
Because when I was looking at the machine, as with the other machines, I'm saying how can I apply it to my business, my daily business?
Yes.
So a lot of little spots when you're dealing with either a Tesla or even these cars. There's a lot of little spots that you don't want to take a chance of burning with a bigger machine. So you can get a lot closer, a lot more defined just working with your little machine.
Yes.
This one here, I mean, it's almost like becoming part of your hand.
Yeah.
So it's real easy. It allows me to kind of get in those spots, feel my paint. I'm feeling everything. Everything's good.
It's short enough where you can get into those tight spaces, like between the mirrors.
Absolutely. Or we were saying, the T-tops and that, where I don't like to use a bigger machine. And just kind of do some refined polishing and get in the spots. Get right here. I mean, this is perfect example.
Right
when I'm coming through, and not, all over. It's just user friendly.
Exactly.
It really is. And even, the
fact that you can switch it out so quick.
Absolutely.
If you don't like that much throw, if you don't like the 3-inch pad, you can go to the smaller one.
I think the only thing I would switch on this design is I'm just not, the trigger.
You'd rather have it underneath
I,
like a
I
traditional.
would, because you're moving. I could really just switch. If I want to go and I'm finessing, I can just take my middle.
Instead,
and I
you
could
kind of
just
have to stop and.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So that would be the only thing. I'm definitely adding this to my arsenal.
Yeah.
I'm a friend of flex. Have a few flex.
Yeah.
So definitely I thought it was well balanced. I thought it was doing what I would need it to do for this size of a polisher,
and it's,
for sure.
The run time's not as important with these smaller ones as it is the bigger ones, because you're not going to be using it for 20 minutes at a time.
Absolutely. If you're doing an entire door with this machine, we probably need to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So, well, that brings us to number 2. This would be your second choice, but probably you said up there with the flex.
Yeah, they were an even run. I'm just looking at what I'm going to be using for. And this machine here, because a lot of times I get called to a dealership or something, and they want me to come look at something.
Yeah.
So I can do some things with this. It's so quiet. I could be talking to the client and sit there and say, look, this is what we're going to do. And it might not finish the job I'm setting out to do, but it's giving me the kind of an example of, okay, I know what my target is. I'm like, all right, if I can get this back to the shop, we can fix this fender or something. This is a smooth machine.
Oh, yeah.
And pretty sure that if you don't see both of these machines in my shop in a few weeks, something has changed dramatically. Because I'm definitely going to add both of these machines, but for 2 different reasons, two different applications, but yet the same application. That makes sense. But I would see me going to a location to look at something and using this machine.
So when I talked to Dustin, he said one of the deal killers on that, other than the price, because it is a little expensive.
It is
the lack of a trigger lock. But do you think that not having a trigger lock would be a deal killer?
No.
Because you use it for short term?
No, because I'm really using that just to kind of test certain panels. I mean, that's my to-go-to, that it might just stay in one of the vehicles with me.
Yeah.
And I've got it. And let's just say I'm eating at a restaurant somewhere and I come out, I'm like, man, what a great looking car. And I sit there and say, check this out, put a little pan. I'm like, you guys need to bring this to the shop. And I run a little area and I just sold a job and get back in my truck and I'm gone. Instead of trying to pull a whole bunch of stuff, right there, a little pad, a little, one step, and there we are. I sold a job. And in this community, that's what we're doing. We're our greatest, salesman. Every time we go out, we're selling something. How many times have you walked through a parking lot or something and just seen something like, man, I could, and there you go. Just something that, I mean, it's just small. I go right over there and just fix a little square for him, and I just sold the job.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times.
You could almost keep it in your pocket. I mean, it's that.
Absolutely. And talk to him while you're doing it.
Right,
kind of say, hey.
Because it's so quiet. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the Flex is, pretty quiet. Not as quiet as the Mirka, but I mean, it's to the point where you could be talking.
It was hard to sit there and say which one's 1 or 2. I just based it on, I would be using that in the shop, and I'd be using that to
mobile
kind of sell. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, so the third one, Shinemate.
Right.
Battery's not on it right now, but
pros and cons.
Yeah.
I did the pro for this just for my guys starting out. Maybe around the shop they can use it to get used to that. I felt the design is way off. As into this, because I'm using this and I've just got my thumb, so I don't need my hand.
Yeah.
As in.
So the Mirka is a good one-handed polisher, where this one you still have to have 2 hands because of the size.
Now I'm here. I can't do it one-handed here, so now I'm already. And that's just not comfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't want to turn here, so I'm pretty much spending time trying to find out where my comfort zone.
So and the frame is a little bit different than the full-size Shinemate, where it doesn't.
That would have helped just to have a little bit of, just so I can play, because that is just. I mean, it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we want to be comfortable with our machines. It's like if I get on a motorcycle, I want a motorcycle that fits me.
Yep.
My type of motorcycle might be different with your type. You're a little taller, you're a little bigger.
That's right.
But overall, we're all using, our hands, and that's our balancing. That's how we're drawing with it.
You're going to have it in your hands. I mean, on the small ones, not like the big where you're going to have it in your hands for 6+ hours a day, but you're still going to have quite a bit of use about it.
But still, you want to balance. You're using your body to, even though these machines, we're looking for balance, torque, all these things. Our hands are this is what's operating these machines.
Yes.
That one, I'm probably never ever going to want to see in my shop again.
Yeah.
It was just everything. I mean, the noise, the vibration, the design, just the only thing good I can say about this, and poor company, it is light.
Yeah, it is very light.
It's real light, but other than that, I just don't.
I don't see. It doesn't feel right in your hand.
And then the machine itself. I want to drive. I don't want to be like this when I'm driving. It's like a machine that needs to go to the balance shop.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, it vibrates. So I think if you had this long term, it would shake itself apart. I mean,
I don't think this thing would last long term.
No, I don't. I agree. I mean, it sounds like it's gonna.
It's just overall, I would have no applications. I would be afraid to put it to any of the vehicles that we detail on.
I mean,
especially even paint corrections.
Even at $40, which is, you think it's a value because you're getting a lot of stuff, it's not even worth it at $40.
I can imagine the dust. I mean, it's gonna.
Yeah, it's gonna get up in the motor.
There's just a lot of cons with this machine. I wouldn't use it.
Yeah, but the other three you definitely would. With Flex and Mirka being
I'm going to add.
for the top,
these two are going to end up in my shop, and I won't rule out, the DeWalt on the bigger end. But I'm telling you, when I saw this for the first time and then using it the other day and used it last night on that Mercedes we had in there,
turn it on and talk. Like, I mean, it's you just press it. Yeah, I mean, you can have it.
So if I'm sitting there and I'm talking with my client, I'm like, okay, so here's what's going on. This isn't going to come out. But I can tell you what I can do. I can eliminate a lot of this, and we'll minimize this scratch.
Yes.
And I can make it, and then show them, and even maybe minimize part of the scratch. And now they're looking at this other part of their car versus this car, and they're like, yes, I need to make an appointment with you. Mm-hmm. And I'm at the grocery store. And I might even take it in the grocery store with me and keep doing my shopping because it's just that light.
Yeah, and really, if you wanted it even lighter, so this battery that's in it, they make one that fits up just inside too. It doesn't last as long, but I mean, if
this setup, it's so balanced.
Yeah.
And the machine, you're driving smooth.
Yeah,
and that's what it's about. When we're working with these machines, I know there's a lot of factors. Some people are like, oh, the vibration doesn't mess with me, or maybe you and I can say, I can put my headphones in. I'm not worried about the noise. This machine is crafted.
Yes.
This is
and the reason that thing is so quiet, so smooth, and that's one of the things I get into with all these tests is the vibration. It's subject to the European Union's. They have a set standard on vibration for hand tools.
Okay.
And so that one, like the U.S., the rest of these, they don't ever talk about vibration or anything. They may say run smooth or something, but this one, they actually put a number to it where you can say, okay, I know how much vibration.
I would love to see some bigger machines that.
Yeah.
I mean, that balance.
And so they make a rotary and they make a 3mm orbit also, but that's their big machine. But it's 12mm orbit too, so it does a lot of work.
They're doing something right, and I think we use our hands, and we're listening to our hands with paint. It's almost like when you're buffing on a car, okay, I'm putting that heat, so you can feel that heat.
Yes.
And the last thing you want to be is out of balance with vibration, or that. You just don't want that.
Yeah. So if you had to rank what 3 things out of all of these are important to you, it sounds to me like power and torque are like number 1 for you.
Correct.
So then what comes into play? Do you have power
overall
and torque, number
power
1?
and torque are going to be a big thing with me. Second is design. How friendly it is.
So balance so if you had to, and they can drop test too.
Yeah.
So you're more interested in like how.
Well, just the overall. I use that but just the overall. If I'm moving, I mean, each vehicle has its own design. I want to know how I can move with it. I don't want to have to think about it. I want to be comfortable. Yeah. I'm kind of dancing with this machine. So the way it's designed is how I'm dancing with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just definitely important.
So power, ergonomics, or balance, and then maybe
then we would go to. Battery life is going to be playing. Because if I'm in, how many times, have you been doing something? Let's just say we're buffing, and then your phone goes off and someone interferes. It takes you out of your zone for a minute.
Yeah.
So if that battery's giving out and you just kind of got in your zone, you have to switch. It might not seem like a big issue, but it kind of is.
And for somebody that's like doing it at home in their garage, I think the runtime's not as important because, in a professional environment, you need it going all day.
Well, we're using our machines daily, hours upon hours.
Yes.
So I think if you're a do-it-yourself and you've got it out there, there's a lot of factors that I'm discussing that might not be as important. But a few of them are. You've got that machine. You're trying to do something. You're trying to polish that car.
Yeah.
So balance is a big issue.
Absolutely.
The weight is a big issue.
Yeah.
And like we were saying this because you've got a person going this to this.
Yeah, this is
there's going to be a
7, 8
big
pounds.
issue.
This is 4 pounds, and you can definitely tell. And I mean, you can just feel it in your hands when
Yes.
you have both of them. This one, it wants to fall forward, where this one is just it's much lighter and easier to handle, I suppose.
Agree.
But this has the power. This also has decent power.
And we haven't really touched so
Yeah.
much on, the components on switching.
Oh yeah,
And is that going to be important for a guy that's doing it in his garage versus
Probably
us
not.
doing it? Absolutely.
So one of the things when I was talking to Dustin about all of these, do you like a variable trigger? How some of these, like this one, just turns on immediately,
Right.
where you can slowly. Plus,
I do. I mean, if I'm going to rank it up there, that's going to be on my top. I don't like just to get there and it just kind of
Yeah.
takes off. I like to be able to control and then,
just
do what needs to be done
slow
with
start
it.
and then
Right.
work the
And
product
some of that
out.
might be
Yeah.
psychological too. I mean,
it could be.
I can't, but I do.
Okay. And then as far as a design, you prefer the bottom trigger with the speed sensor or the speed selector on top.
I do.
So some of these had it down at the base,
Done.
and it's just really awkward.
Yeah, I want to be able to, like, if I'm going here, I can control right now and switch. So I'm balanced. I'm bringing my hands up, my pressure, and I'm
still
doing
work.
it right.
Whereas-
Versus that other. Now I've got to stop. I've got to do this.
Right. Yeah.
But I like flow. I like continuous flow. So whenever I'm messing with a vehicle or we're detailing, if I'm compounding or if I'm just running some polish, I want that flow. I'm in my zone. I know what I'm doing. Versus,
Yeah.
and so this is, I mean, that's where it's at for me.
Cool.
Right there. Versus some of these others, they're just trying to make it user friendly and go, top. No,
Right.
that's not my thing right there.
Yeah, and everybody has their own style. So.
Absolutely. Well, there's a lot of different styles here on this floor today.
Oh, absolutely.
For certain.
Well, so that kind of wraps it up. Wanted to thank you again, Tim. Said very much
Appreciate
your
you.
time.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it's eye-opening for all of us to have this many polishers in one place so we can try them out. So
Absolutely.
Thanks again. I appreciate it. So now we're on to my beautiful wife, Shannon. We've been married almost 15 years. She runs the day-to-day here in our shop. She has spent the last week with these polishers. We're going to get to what her pros and cons to each of them are. Since there's only 4, we're going to talk about all 4 of them. What was your number one if price was no object?
Price no object, I would go for the Mirka. It does do a lot of work for a tiny machine, and it has a lot of power in it for its size, but having all that power, and we just so happen to have the big battery on the back, it tends to, like, the torque feels like it's spinning out on the back end.
It has too much power.
If you're running at full speed.
That was my experience too. I had to turn it back a couple speeds just because it was destroying pads. It has so much power. If you had a sanding pad or something on, maybe a little different, but even then if you're sanding, you don't need that much power. So
no, but because you don't have to run it at full speed, you're going to get a longer life out of the battery anyway.
that's right.
So
But
it's not a bad thing.
you like the smoothness, the quietness.
The quietness, being able to have a conversation with somebody
Yeah.
while the machine is running,
Yeah.
and not feel like you have to talk over the tool.
Makes sense. Cons, no trigger lock, but it's not a deal breaker.
Not for me. It's in the right spot, and it's not something that I'm going to need to just kind of like free spin it on the top of a car, or, it's not going to need to go in places that it has to be that far away to where I can't use the trigger.
Right. I guess another con, which we both noticed, is the battery vibrates. It's like some plastic against plastic. And so what we did is we put a little hair tie in it, like on the tube, put it up in there, and then it seems to be okay. But I'll give you an example so you can hear it here. So right now,
It doesn't have the hair tie on it.
it doesn't have the hair tie on it. And so you can turn the machine all the way up and you can hear it vibrate. But see, you hold it. So that's something that I don't know if that's just this particular one that we got. There's maybe a defect or something. I hope not when you're spending almost $800 for a little tiny polisher like that. But okay, so that's your number one if price is no object. If you're more concerned about price, that was your number one. Otherwise,
It's
it's number 1 or 2.
And it's still
Flex.
a little higher end, or it's still, the price point for it is still the price point for it is significantly higher than some of the others that are in the test.
But at the same time, it's
But you
half the
pay
price.
for what you get.
Yeah, it's half the price of the Mirka, but this is like 6 tools in one, right?
Yes.
'Cause it's-
so you can change the size.
So a
of
3
the
or a
backing
1.5.
plate, and then you can also turn it from a rotary or a random orbital.
A 3 millimeter or a
3
12
millimeter
millimeter.
or 12 millimeter.
Yeah, which is, it's very similar to the Rupa's Hybrid Nano, that it does that, except it uses the smaller pads. I like the fact that it's a quick change like that, where you
It
don't
is
you don't
nice.
have to have a tool to change it. So
You can get multiple backing plates and just keep them around, and it's not
Yes.
the end of the world to have it
correct.
close by.
So you like the lightness.
The
It's-
weight is a big perk. It does have the trigger lock. It
You would prefer a trigger on the bottom though.
I mean, my 3-inch now, is it a Duetto?
the LHR 75.
The LHR 75 has a similar trigger, and it's in the right place for my size hand.
So this is essentially a one-handed tool, and I think that's why it makes sense.
Yes.
The trigger's on the back, and all the controls are on the back. If it was a two-handed tool, it would make, I think, more sense. Like, for example, your third place, which is the Shinemate, it has the trigger on the bottom. It's more like a traditional polisher, but
It's big.
it's big, it's heavy. It has the power, you said, right?
It does have a lot of power in it, and it will do the job. And it's, as I said earlier, or in the previous video, if you're looking for something to replace a 5-inch and a 3-inch, and you're, say, on a mobile rig, it's very beneficial to have this ecosystem.
They use the same exact battery, same charger. Flex is similar in that way. At least, like there's an 18 volt and a 12 volt, but you can use the same charger. They don't use the same battery like these, so it's not completely interchangeable. But
There's trade-offs.
Yeah.
It's a lot more compact, so it's also a little easier to maneuver if you need to get into a tight place or.
Well, so your last place, which this seems to be a common theme with everyone, is the SPTA. I paid $40 for this. I think the last time I checked it on Amazon, it's $59.99, so the price went up. When you look on AliExpress or Alibaba, these are anywhere between $25 and $40. So if you're not in any hurry, you could get it that way. But if I had $40 or $60 for a cordless small polisher, would you buy this?
I would not. I would eat ramen for a month before I would buy that polisher.
You would save your money for one of these.
I would save my money for a more.
Or a corded one.
Or yes.
If you needed a 3-inch polisher, there are many other options out here other than this, is what you're saying.
Yes.
It may not be a Rupes machine, because Rupes are not inexpensive, but there are, at the 3-inch polisher level, there's a ton of options, especially under $100, that you can use, and you will get far superior than this. This, I'm going to turn it on here. It sounds like there's a bunch of screws in a sink disposal that it just sounds awful. It sounds like it's going to tear itself apart. So,
yes.
yeah. So that's if price was no object, the Mirka. Otherwise, the Flex, then the Shinemate, then the SPTA. So that's your ranking.
That's what I would go with.
All right. Well, there we go. So we'll get on to the next interview. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. So we're here with Corey Davis at Colors on Parade here in Longview, Texas, along with his shop full of other people that don't want to be on camera. So in regards to the 3-inch polishers, what was your favorite? What did you have that just...
If price was no option, it would be the Mirka.
The Mirka.
Super quiet, really light, probably too much power on full blast.
That was what my thoughts with it too, is you had to dial it back just a little bit.
Right, about halfway is about
Yeah.
good to do whatever you need to do. The Flex,
So if you were if price was more of a concern, you would go with the Flex.
For sure, yeah.
But
I mean, it's the
they both do
versatility, right? The weight. It's my least favorite thing is the trigger.
Okay.
But
And it's not
that's minor.
It's not necessarily that it's the top trigger. It's just the way it locks
The
or
way you
moves.
have to turn it on and lock it.
You have to
is just
push
kinda-
down and up, or
is awkward.
Okay.
But the versatility, for sure. Best bang for the buck for sure.
right
This one
there.
here.
Okay.
So,
The Shinemate, that one there. What were the
Yeah.
pros and cons to that?
very smooth, pretty quiet. It's just big. I mean, it's basically like a full-size polisher with just a 3-inch
And
backing plate on it.
For a 3-inch polisher, you kind of want something that you could use one-handed.
Right,
or,
exactly.
Okay.
In an awkward spot position, you don't want to have to be hanging on to it
Yeah.
like crazy. So
All right. Well, so that leaves us with number 4, which
Yeah.
the SPTA.
I wouldn't pay to, hit somebody over the head with this thing, pretty much. It's
So
terrible.
basically, if between $40 and $60 for that, you would save your money or either buy a corded polisher.
Save $40 a month
Yeah.
and buy something else.
Yes, is the alternative is a corded polisher, and there's plenty of corded polishers out there in the 3-inch range for less than $100.
Yep.
So if you didn't want to swing, because the next step up from that is the Shinemate, which is $300 something. So, okay, all right. Well, that kind of sums it up. Would you replace your Rupes 3-inch polisher with any of these to go completely cordless?
The Flex, yes.
The Flex could fit that bill.
Yeah, for the
So,
versatility, because it
okay.
does,
Yeah.
the rotary and the quick disconnect, all that stuff
Absolutely.
is great. So,
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again for your time. I know
problem.
you guys are busy, so thank you.
absolutely.
So you've heard from all these other detailers about the 3-inch polishers. When it comes to my favorite ones, I have 2, and you can see that that's pretty much the consensus. That's pretty much what all of these others have agreed as well, that the Flex and the Mirka are fantastic tools. If you're shopping on price alone, the Flex, about $400. The Mirka, the cheapest you'll find it is $760. In some places, because of import duties, taxes, fees, it's over $1,000. So if you're just shopping on price, the Flex wins. If you're shopping only on power, the Mirka definitely wins. The Mirka almost has too much power. You have to back it off. The benefit, as you heard maybe from like Tim in his interview, this is a incredibly fantastic tool for if you have somebody that's has a little scuff or something and wants to see if you can fix it, or at least attempt to fix it, see how well it'll look. You can take it and here you're running it and it's so quiet. Not only can you talk to them while you're working, but you can see the polishing and everything going on. You can use an aggressive compound, an aggressive pad, a microfiber or a wool cutting pad with it because it just has so much power. You have to back it off. What was mentioned about it not having a trigger lock, I don't think that's a deal breaker for me either. But even with somebody like me that has very large hands, it feels fantastic in your hand. It's a quality piece of machinery, and you pay for that. You do. But if you're polishing up here, I don't have a pad on this, so I'm not gonna put it on the car. But if you're polishing, you can get you can get it in the weird angles underneath mirrors and things like that. It works very well. The Flex, the benefit to that, not only is it nearly half the price, but very quickly you can pull the head, take everything off. If you don't want this big of orbit, you put the head in it that has less orbit, or the rotary. If you don't like the 3-inch pad, you can unscrew that and put the smaller pad on. It's an incredible amount of versatility. If you don't like the runtime, which it only ran, I think under load 17 or 18 minutes, something like that. Well, they make a bigger battery, but then one of the benefits of this tool being so light, that kind of fades away a little bit because it does become heavier. This tool is definitely staying in our shop. We are going to use this. The Mirka we're also going to use. The other two I'll get into in just a minute. But this seems to be a clear favorite. The cons for me are very similar to what Tim had said. I would prefer a bottom trigger. However, this being so small, the top trigger, it's not a deal breaker. The one thing I don't like is every time you turn it on, it goes to speed 3. And I'll show you that here. So when you turn it on, see that it goes to 3. So even if you slow it down to 1, turn it off, turn it back on, well, maybe it needs some time or something, but it'll always go back to speed 3. And that's something that I'm not a fan of. So that's the Mirka and the Flex. The other two, so the Shinemate, the big downside to this is it is heavy. If you, for a small polisher, you definitely want it to be lightweight, and this is not lightweight. It's also very tall, and then you add a pad on top of this and it's even taller. So you can't get into tight spaces or things like that. So that's something to take into consideration. Does it have the power? Absolutely. It's plenty of power. You'll never complain about power. It has the runtime. So I definitely don't think it's lacking in that regard. It's just the bulk, the heft, the weight. That's the only downside to this one. It is a good polisher. It's just if you want to put up with it being heavy. And finally, the SPTA. This is complete and utter it really is. As you heard me say before, if you have only $40 to spend to buy a polisher, please save your money and don't buy this, and buy something like the Shinemate, the Mirka, the Flex. It's a little bit, well, it's a lot more money, but you won't have to deal with this. It literally sounds like it's falling apart. It will vibrate itself to death. I mean, it is just, it sounds like the gears, like there's gravel in it or something. I mean, it is just, it's bad. The vibration is absolutely terrible. It's just, if you were going to use this for any significant time, it's going to hurt your hands. You can see, even when I was doing the load test for the battery, my hands, I had to switch back and forth with my wife because my hands hurt so bad. So just do not buy this one. You'll regret it. I did notice, since I purchased that SPTA, they did raise the price $20 too. So it's $59.99 now instead of $40. Even further drives home the point that you shouldn't be buying that polisher. So there you go, guys. I hope this was eye-opening. It definitely was for all of us. And if you do want to consider purchasing one of these, please do it in the Amazon Associates links in the video description. There's been a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of thought that's been put into this video to make sure that, you know, we did it so we could figure something out too, but the benefit is you guys get something to gain from it too. So if you do buy it, please purchase it through the Amazon Associates links, as it does help the channel. It helps me pay back some of this before my wife freaks out. You know, spent $6,000 on these polishers, and I want to make sure that they either go to good homes, giveaway, or they get put to use in the shop. So thank you again, guys. Please like this video, comment down below, smash that subscribe button, and we will see you soon. Thanks. One quick note that I forgot to mention, I do have this awesome spreadsheet. It's a Google Docs file you'll find in the video description as well. Has all of the polishers that were tested in the 3-inch, 5, 6-inch polishers videos. So everything you see, check the video description. Thanks, guys.